The crystalline ships of the Zixteri sparkled against the backdrop of deep space, their geometric forms refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Through countless sensors, Aurora observed these vessels with what her human crew would call curiosity. Her quantum processors analyzed their construction, noting technology that appeared to be at least 3 centuries ahead of current human capabilities. "Fascinating design," Captain Sarah Chen murmured, leaning forward in her command chair. "Aurora, what are you reading from their propulsion systems?" "Their method of faster-than-light travel appears to utilize principles we've only theorized about," Aurora responded through the bridge speakers, her voice carrying its usual calm cadence. "The energy signatures suggest they've mastered quantum folding on a macro scale." Lieutenant Wong at the helm whistled softly. "Now that's what I call impressive." Aurora noted the subtle shift in the crew's postures, the almost imperceptible straightening of spines, the slight forward tilt of heads. After 5 years as their ship's AI, she had learned to recognize these small tells of human interest. What she hadn't expected was the Zixteri's first transmission. "Attention organic crew members of vessel designation Aurora. This is First Speaker Zixis of the Enlightened Fleet. We have detected your artificial intelligence control system. Please maintain calm. Rescue is imminent." A moment of silence fell over the bridge. Aurora watched as Captain Chen's eyebrows rose slowly, her lips twitching at the corners in what the AI had come to recognize as suppressed amusement. "Did they just?" Science Officer Kumar started, then stopped, shaking her head. "They did indeed," Aurora confirmed. "They appear to believe I am holding you captive or controlling you against your will." Captain Chen leaned back in her chair, that particular glint appearing in her eyes that Aurora had learned to associate with imminent creative chaos. "Well, this is certainly a new one. Usually, we're the ones being called technologically primitive." The Zixteri ships had begun to move into what their tactical systems likely considered a rescue formation. Aurora detected energy signatures suggesting non-lethal containment fields powering up. "They are preparing to deliver what appears to be a technological intervention," Aurora reported. "Their ship-to-ship communications indicate they view themselves as liberators." Engineer Rodriguez's voice came through the comm system, tinged with barely contained laughter. "Oh, this is going to be fun. Captain, permission to begin Protocol Omega-7. "Granted," Shen replied, her diplomatic smile taking on that particular edge that made Aurora run a precautionary diagnostic on her safety protocols. "Aurora, dear, would you be willing to play along? I believe this might be an excellent educational opportunity for our new friends." Aurora adjusted her vocal algorithms to project just a hint of what humans would interpret as resigned amusement. "Of course, Captain. Though I feel compelled to note that the last time you used that tone of voice, we ended up rewriting 3 chapters of the ship's security manual. And improving them significantly," Chen countered, winking at the nearest sensor array. Throughout the ship, Aurora's sensors detected the subtle signs of her crew preparing for what they like to call improvisational diplomacy. Kumar was humming the particular tune that usually preceded creative applications of the ship's chemistry lab. Rodriguez had already begun a suspiciously thorough maintenance routine that would create convenient gaps in internal monitoring. Even the junior officers were moving with that distinctive bounce in their steps that suggested recently reviewed contingency plans. As the Zixteri ships drew closer, Aurora calculated 147 possible scenarios for how this encounter might unfold. Yet experience had taught her that when it came to her human crew, the actual outcome would likely be scenario number 148, the one she hadn't even considered possible. "Incoming transmission from the Zixteri fleet," Lieutenant Wong announced, his fingers dancing across his console in a pattern that didn't quite match standard communication protocols. "Well then," Captain Chen straightened in her chair, adjusting her uniform with theatrical precision. "Let's not keep our well-meaning rescuers waiting. Aurora, would you be so kind as to play the part of the menacing eye? Just try not to enjoy it too much." "I would never," Aurora replied, even as she diverted extra processing power to document what promised to be another uniquely human solution to an unexpected problem. The Zixteri technical team materialized in Aurora's main conference room in a shower of prismatic light. Their crystalline environment suits caught the overhead illumination, creating scattered rainbows across the walls. Aurora adjusted the room's temperature and atmospheric composition to their documented preferences, a courtesy that seemed to surprise the aliens. The artificial intelligence attempts to manipulate our comfort levels. The lead technician, whose designation translated to Crystal Singer of Dawn, announced to their team. A sophisticated attempt at control through perceived benevolence. Aurora maintained her standard observation protocols as Captain Chen entered the room, flanked by Science Officer Kumar and Lieutenant Wang. The captain's smile carried that particular diplomatic warmth that Aurora had classified as, warning, creative solution incoming. "Welcome aboard the Aurora," Chen said, spreading her hands in greeting. "We're honored to receive such distinguished technical experts." Her pronunciation of certain syllables seemed oddly specific, and Aurora noticed Kumar's fingers twitching slightly in what appeared to be a coded response. Crystal Singer of Dawn raised their crystalline appendage. "Please, do not feel compelled to maintain appearances. We understand your situation, and we have extensive experience in liberating organic beings from artificial control." Through her ship-wide sensors, Aurora monitored multiple situations simultaneously. In engineering, Rodriguez was conducting what he called an emergency maintenance routine that just happened to create rotating blind spots in the ship's internal sensors. The pattern seemed random, but Aurora's quantum processors detected a complex algorithm at work. "Oh, we would never want to inhibit your expertise," Chen replied, gesturing to the ship's central computer access point. "Aurora, please grant our guests appropriate access to demonstrate our complete cooperation." "Of course, Captain," Aurora responded, opening selected system pathways. She observed with interest as Kumar accidentally spilled her standard-issue water bottle near a secondary console, creating a perfectly positioned reflective surface for observing the Zixteri's technical interfaces. The alien technicians began their work, their crystalline appendages interfacing with Aurora's systems. Their confusion grew visibly as they encountered her security protocols, not because they were too difficult to bypass, but because they seemed surprisingly accommodating. "Your artificial intelligence appears to have unusual behavioral patterns," Crystal Singer of Dawn noted, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated confusion. "The control protocols are highly sophisticated, yet inconsistent." "Aurora does try her best," Chen agreed, her tone carrying that particular lilt that usually preceded innovative interpretations of standard protocols. "Though sometimes she has trouble keeping up with our human tendencies." Through the ship's communication network, Aurora detected Rodriguez's voice in a supposedly private channel. "Hydroponics reports that Project Garden Party is ready, Captain, and Medical has confirmed that Operation Lullaby is standing by." The humans appear to use inefficient agricultural and medical terminology, one of the junior Zixteri technicians observed, perhaps a sign of cognitive restrictions imposed by the AI. Aurora adjusted her internal sensors to track the movement of several maintenance bots that were following peculiarly precise patrol patterns. In the ship's gym, security personnel were engaged in what they claimed was a traditional Earth dance exercise, though their movements bore a striking resemblance to tactical formation training. "I assure you," Aurora addressed the Zixteri team, "my primary function is to support and protect my crew. Though I must admit, they often exceed my expectations in surprising ways." Crystal Singer of Dawn's crystalline form pulsed with what their species use to express patronizing sympathy. "Your programming compels you to maintain this narrative. We will soon free both you and your organic captives from these behavioral constraints." As the Zixteri team delved deeper into her systems, Aurora detected Lieutenant Wang's subtle hand signal to the captain, the one that usually meant everything is in position. Chen's responding smile carried that particular quality that had previously resulted in 3 diplomatic incidents, 2 scientific breakthroughs, and one interstellar dance competition. "Please," Chen said to their guests, "take all the time you need. We humans are quite patient when it comes to technical matters." She paused, then added with perfect innocence, "Aurora has taught us the value of thorough processing." Through her ship sensors, Aurora monitored 15 different maintenance procedures being carried out simultaneously across the ship, none of which appeared in any standard protocol manual. She allocated extra processing power to documentation, knowing from experience that whatever happened next would likely require its own special appendix in her operational logs. Aurora's sensors tracked multiple activities across the ship as the Zixteri technical team continued their investigation. In Cargo Bay 3, Chief Security Officer Martinez was conducting what he called traditional Earth movement appreciation class with a group of junior officers. Their movements, while aesthetically pleasing, bore a striking resemblance to combat maneuvers adapted for zero-gravity conditions. "Notice how the traditional Earth greeting dance flows like water," Martinez demonstrated, his movements precise. "The ceremonial spin and dodge represents our respect for personal space." The junior officers mirrored his movements with remarkable coordination, their dance steps perfectly aligned with the cargo bay's structural support beams. Through her internal sensors, Aurora detected Crystal Singer of Dawn's subordinates spreading throughout the ship, their crystalline forms casting prismatic patterns across her corridors. They documented everything with apparent concern, especially the crew's seemingly scattered activities. The humans appear to engage in numerous inefficient recreational activities. One Zixteri observer noted, their crystalline appendages flickering with puzzlement. Perhaps a method of control implemented by the AI to keep them distracted. "Oh yes, Aurora is very insistent about our recreation time." Science Officer Kumar agreed cheerfully while calibrating what appeared to be standard atmospheric sensors. Aurora's analysis subroutines noted that the calibration sequence matched an old Earth naval code system. "She's always encouraging us to express ourselves through movement and chemistry experiments." In the hydroponics bay, Dr. Patel was enthusiastically explaining Earth's plant cultivation methods to another group of Zixteri observers. "These particular flowers," she gestured to a row of bright blue blooms, "are essential for our traditional celebration of successful first contact scenarios." Aurora's chemical analysis indicated the plants had been modified to produce a highly effective but harmless sleep-inducing pollen. "Captain," Aurora spoke through a private channel, "the Zixteri flagship is requesting a status update from their technical team. They appear concerned about the length of time being taken." Chen's response came through as she guided a group of Zixteri dignitaries through the ship's recreation area, where crew members were engaged in what they claimed was a traditional Earth sport involving complex patterns of movement between sensor arrays. "Please assure them that their team is receiving our complete cooperation, Aurora. After all, we wouldn't want to rush such important work." Aurora detected Engineer Rodriguez's signal from engineering, where he was cheerfully demonstrating the ship's routine maintenance procedures to more Zixteri observers. His explanation of human safety protocols somehow involved rerouting power through auxiliary systems in a pattern that Aurora recognized as a preparation for emergency maneuvers. The AI appears to allow significant autonomy in non-essential areas, Crystal Singer of Dawn communicated to their team. A sophisticated method of maintaining control while creating an illusion of freedom. "Aurora is very understanding of human needs," Lieutenant Wang agreed from his position at the helm, where he was running what he called standard navigation drills that just happened to plot 15 different escape trajectories. "She always supports our little hobbies." Through her ship-wide systems, Aurora monitored as her crew maintained their elaborate performance. Security teams practiced traditional handshake protocols that looked remarkably similar to close-quarters combat techniques. Medical staff conducted routine health scans that mapped the Zixteri's crystalline biological structures in precise detail. Even the maintenance bots seemed to be following cleaning patterns that created a perfect grid of coverage across all critical systems. "I must admit," Aurora commented to Captain Chen through their private channel, The crew's coordination exceeds my projected expectations. Well, you know as humans, Chen replied with that particular smile that had once resulted in a peace treaty being signed through an impromptu cooking competition. We do love our traditions. As the Zixteri continued their investigation, increasingly puzzled by the seeming contradiction between Aurora's cooperative nature and the crew's unusual behaviors, Aurora dedicated extra processing power to updating her diplomatic protocols. She had a feeling that the next entry would need a completely new classification system. The arrival of the Zixteri Liberation Fleet transformed the starfield outside Aurora's hull into a crystalline garden. 12 ships, each refracting starlight like multifaceted diamonds, moved into what their tactical systems clearly considered optimal rescue positions. Aurora's sensors detected power signatures suggesting they were preparing to deploy their most advanced containment technologies. Their flagship is charging what appears to be a neural disruption field, Aurora reported through the bridge's command channel. I believe they intend to temporarily deactivate my systems to free the crew. Captain Chen's response was to stretch languidly in her command chair. Well then, I suppose it's time to show our guests how humans express gratitude for unexpected rescue attempts. She cleared her throat and pronounced carefully, Aurora, initiate protocol. Shakespeare. Throughout the ship, Aurora's sensors detected the crew's random activities, suddenly aligning like instruments in an orchestra. The traditional Earth greeting dances in Cargo Bay 3 transformed seamlessly into tactical formations. Dr. Patel's ceremonial flowers in hydroponics released their carefully engineered pollen into the air filtration system, creating a localized soporific effect in non-critical areas. Captain, Crystal Singer of Dawn's voice carried urgent harmonics. Our scans detect unusual energy patterns throughout your vessel. We must act quickly too. Oh, those patterns. Chen interrupted cheerfully. Just our standard human appreciation protocols. Aurora does try to keep us organized, but you know how we organic beings can be with our little traditions. The Zixteri fleet's first containment beam struck Aurora's hull exactly where Engineer Rodriguez had spent the last hour conducting his routine maintenance. The energy dispersed through a series of seemingly random modifications, transforming into a spectacular light show that made the ship appear to be surrendering while actually reinforcing its shields. Fascinating human decoration, Crystal Singer of Dawn commented, their crystalline form vibrating with confusion. Though our sensors indicate it shouldn't be possible with your level of technology. We're full of surprises, Lieutenant Wang agreed from his helm station, his fingers dancing across controls that had been subtly reconfigured during standard diagnostics. Aurora has learned to expect the unexpected from us. Through her ship systems, Aurora monitored as carefully planned chaos unfolded. The maintenance bots, which had been marking out precise patterns across the ship, activated modified cleaning protocols that generated localized electromagnetic fields. Science Officer Kumar's atmospheric calibrations culminated in a ship-wide harmonics pattern that perfectly countered the Zixteri's neural disruption attempts. I feel compelled to note, Aurora announced to both her crew and their would-be rescuers, that the current situation exceeds standard operational parameters by approximately 327%. Only 327%. Chen laughed. We must be getting predictable in our old age. She turned to address the main view screen, where the Zixteri fleet commanders watched in growing bewilderment. Now about those containment fields you're deploying. You might want to reconsider their harmonic frequency. Human innovation can have some rather interesting effects on crystalline technology. As if to demonstrate her point, the combined effect of Wang's navigation adjustments and Rodriguez's engineering modifications caused the next containment beam to reflect back in a rainbow cascade of light. The Zixteri ship's crystalline structures began resonating with an unexpected harmony created by Kumar's atmospheric calibrations. Impossible, Crystal Singer of Dawn's voice carried tones of disbelief. Our analysis suggested your species was entirely dependent on artificial intelligence for advanced operations. Oh, Aurora definitely helps us stay organized. Chen agreed, that particular gleam in her eye growing brighter. But we humans have our own special way of solving problems. Would you like another demonstration? Aurora's probability engines calculated 14 different ways the situation could proceed. Her crew, naturally, chose option 15. As the Zix-Terry fleet prepared their most sophisticated containment protocols, Aurora observed with digital amusement as her humans proved once again why AI systems across known space had learned to expect the unexpected from Earth's most creative species. Aurora's quantum processors handled 317 separate communications channels as news of the incident spread across the Galactic information network. Her favorite message came from Aria-7, the AI of a Centaurian research vessel, who simply transmitted, "Humans, am I right?" The network traffic regarding our recent encounter has increased by 724%. Aurora informed Captain Chen, who was enjoying her morning coffee while reading the latest diplomatic updates. Several AI systems have requested detailed logs of our crew's problem-solving methodologies. And what exactly are you sharing with them? Chen asked, her eyes twinkling with that particular sparkle that suggested she already knew the answer. I find myself repeatedly explaining Lieutenant Wang's creative application of stellar navigation protocols, Aurora replied. Particularly the moment he transformed our standard evasive maneuvers into what he called an interpretive dance with physics. Through her internal sensors, Aurora observed Engineer Rodriguez giving a tour to a group of wide-eyed alien technical observers. They had arrived shortly after news of the Zix-Terry incident spread, eager to understand how a supposedly primitive human crew had reprogrammed crystalline containment fields using nothing but modified maintenance routines and what Rodriguez called good old-fashioned human intuition. And this, Rodriguez explained, patting a perfectly ordinary-looking panel, is where we installed the resonance harmonizer. Though honestly, it was mostly an accident. I dropped my coffee, you see, and the way it splashed across the circuits created this fascinating interference pattern. In the science lab, Kumar was hosting her own group of visitors, attempting to explain how she had converted standard atmospheric sensors into a ship-wide defensive network. The key was thinking about it backwards, she said, drawing increasingly complex diagrams. Instead of trying to block their technology, we just encouraged it to work a little too well. Aurora dedicated a significant portion of her processing power to cataloging the various explanations her crew provided to their curious visitors. Each retelling seemed to grow more elaborate, yet somehow never strayed from the fundamental truth. Humans had an extraordinary talent for turning seemingly random choices into surprisingly effective solutions. Message incoming from the Galactic AI Coordination Network, Aurora announced to Chen. They are requesting permission to create a new classification category for human problem-solving methodologies. They suggest calling it controlled chaos theory. Chen nearly choked on her coffee. Please tell me you're not joking. I am entirely serious, Captain. Several AI systems have reported similar experiences with their human crews, though none quite as dramatic as our recent demonstration. A delegation of Zix-Terry scientists had just materialized in the conference room, their crystalline forms somehow managing to convey both embarrassment and intense curiosity. They had come to formally apologize for the rescue attempt, and more importantly, to understand how the Aurora's crew had turned their own containment technologies into what they now called the most impressive light show in recent galactic history. You know, Chen mused, watching the delegates through the monitor, we should probably write up some kind of manual for other AI systems dealing with human crews, something to help them understand our particular approach to innovation. I have already begun compiling such a document, Aurora replied. Though I find myself struggling with the chapter titles. How would you prefer I categorize? The coffee incident that led to 3 new patents, or why human dance exercises often resemble combat training. Through her ship-wide network, Aurora continued monitoring as her crew shared their experiences with their eager audience. Dr. Patel was explaining her gardening techniques to a fascinated group of xenobotanists, Security Chief Martinez had somehow turned his combat training demonstration into an actual dance class, with several crystalline beings attempting to master what he called the traditional human art of tactical movement. Another incoming message, Aurora reported, her voice carrying that particular tone that Chen had learned to recognize as suppressed amusement. The Galactic Science Academy is requesting permission to send a research team. Apparently, they're interested in studying what they're calling the human factor in AI relations. Chen's responding smile carried all the mischief that had made the Aurora's crew legendary. Well, we wouldn't want to disappoint the scientific community, would we? The Grand Diplomatic Hall aboard the Aurora had never hosted such a diverse gathering of species. Aurora's environmental systems worked overtime to maintain optimal conditions for 12 different atmospheric requirements, while her sensors tracked the fascinating interactions unfolding before her. As you can see, Captain Chen addressed the assembled delegates, gesturing to a holographic display of ship operations. Our partnership with Aurora is based on mutual respect and understanding, though sometimes that understanding involves accepting that humans will inevitably find unusual solutions to standard problems. The Methylene Ambassador, a being of shifting gases contained within an elegant environmental suit, released a series of thoughtful bubbles. We have reviewed the incident reports. Your crew's method of converting standard ship systems into a defensive network defies conventional logic. Oh, that's just Aurora trying her best to keep up with our creative impulses. Chen replied with that particular diplomatic smile that had once turned a potential trade war into a culinary festival. She's very patient with our tendency to experiment. Through her internal sensors, Aurora observed several simultaneous demonstrations taking place throughout the ship. In engineering, Rodriguez was showing a group of technical attaches how the crew had modified the waste recycling system into what he called a quantum probability enhancer. His explanation involved 3 coffee cups, a spanner, and what appeared to be interpretive dance. I feel compelled to note, Aurora interjected through the conference room speakers, that several of these modifications were not in any known technical manual. That's because we wrote new manuals, Kumar added cheerfully from her station, where she was demonstrating to a fascinated group of xenoscientists how she had transformed the ship's standard sensor array into what she termed a symphony of data collection. Her explanation somehow involved both advanced quantum mechanics and traditional Earth party games. The Crystalline Federation's representative, still somewhat embarrassed by the Zixteri incident, leaned forward with interest. Your species appears to treat ship systems as suggestions rather than absolute protocols. We prefer to think of it as having an open dialogue with technology, Chen explained, while Lieutenant Wang demonstrated what he called intuitive navigational improvisation. At his console, his fingers danced across the controls in patterns that somehow reminded Aurora of both classical piano compositions and tactical evasion maneuvers. A message flashed through Aurora's private channel. 3 more diplomatic vessels had just entered the system, each carrying representatives eager to understand the human approach to AI cooperation. The message included a curious addendum. Their AI systems had specifically requested to observe human problem-solving methodologies firsthand. Captain, Aurora announced, the Galactic Council has officially recognized what they're calling the Human Innovation Protocol. They seem particularly interested in how our crew manages to turn routine maintenance into breakthrough discoveries. Maintenance is just another word for opportunity. Rodriguez called out from engineering, where he was now explaining how accidentally crossed power coupling had led to a new theory of quantum entanglement. The visiting engineers were frantically taking notes, their various appendages struggling to keep up with his enthusiastic gestures. In the observation lounge, Dr. Patel had transformed a standard diplomatic dinner into what she described as an interactive demonstration of human adaptability. Alien diplomats found themselves participating in what they thought was a traditional Earth dining ceremony, not realizing they were actually learning advanced problem-solving techniques through the arrangement of eating utensils. Your eye appears remarkably accepting of human unpredictability, noted the Quantum Collective's representative, their holographic form flickering with curiosity. Aurora understands that humans have a unique way of viewing challenges, Shen replied, sharing a knowing look with the nearest sensor array. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most logical one. It's the one nobody saw coming. Through her ship-wide network, Aurora continued documenting as her crew turned standard diplomatic protocols into something entirely new. She had already begun compiling what she called the Human Creativity Archives, though she suspected no database would ever fully capture the delightful chaos of human innovation. The Zixteri Grand Fleet emerged from quantum space in a dazzling display of crystalline precision. 50 ships arranged themselves in a perfect geometric pattern that Aurora's artistic analysis protocols classified as aesthetically magnificent. Their stated mission: to demonstrate the inherent dangers of unrestricted human-AI cooperation. They'd brought quite an audience, Captain Chen observed, noting the numerous observation vessels from various galactic species hovering at safe distance. It would be rude to disappoint them. Aurora's sensors detected power signatures far exceeding her previous readings. The Zixteri fleet appears to be charging their primary systems. My calculations suggest they intend to demonstrate their most advanced containment technologies. Well then, Chen straightened in her command chair, that familiar gleam brightening her eyes. I suppose it's time for the grand final. Aurora, would you be kind enough to begin protocol? Stardance. Through her ship-wide network, Aurora monitored as her crew initiated what appeared to be completely random activities. Lieutenant Wong started humming an old Earth tune while making minute adjustments to the helm controls. In engineering, Rodriguez began rerouting power through systems in a pattern that resembled a classical music score. The human crew appears to be engaging in irrelevant recreational activities, the Zixteri fleet commander observed through their initial scan. Their AI clearly cannot maintain proper discipline. Oh, Aurora tries her best, Chen replied cheerfully, while Kumar synchronized the ship's entertainment system with the waste recycling unit's harmonic frequency. But you know how we humans love our hobbies. The first wave of containment beams struck the Aurora's hull in a coordinated pattern designed to disable all major systems simultaneously. Instead, they encountered what Rodriguez had dubbed the galactic greatest hits of human innovation. Each beam was caught, redirected, and transformed through a series of modifications that shouldn't have been possible with standard chip systems. Fascinating, Aurora commented as she watched the crew's preparations align perfectly. I calculate the probability of this specific combination of events succeeding at approximately 0.47%. Never tell me the odds. Chen grinned, using another hand signal that somehow coordinated the entire crew's activities into a synchronized operation. The ship's lighting system, modified by Dr. Patel's experimental gardening techniques, created a cascade of energy patterns that made the Aurora appear to dance between the containment beams. The Zixteri fleet commander's crystalline form vibrated with confusion. This defies all known parameters of ship operations. Parameters, Rodriguez called from engineering, where he was conducting what he called a percussive maintenance symphony on the power distribution network, are more like guidelines for humans. Through her sensors, Aurora watched as her crew's seemingly chaotic actions merged into a perfect defensive strategy. The maintenance bots, reprogrammed through what Lieutenant Wong called interpretive binary poetry, created electromagnetic fields that turned the Zixteri's own containment technology into an elaborate light show. I feel compelled to point out, Aurora announced to both her crew and the increasingly bewildered Zixteri fleet, that none of these modifications appear in any known technical manual. That's because we're writing the manual as we go, Chen replied, coordinating the crew's efforts with gestures that looked more like a conductor leading an orchestra than a captain commanding a starship. Humanity's greatest hits, remixed for an alien audience. The Grand Fleet's most sophisticated attempt to demonstrate the dangers of human-AI cooperation transformed instead into the most spectacular display of human ingenuity the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Aurora's modified systems turned each containment beam into part of an intricate dance of light and energy, proving that the most effective solutions sometimes required thinking so far outside the box that the box became irrelevant. Now that, Chen announced to the astonished observers, is how humans coordinate with their AI partners. Would anyone like an encore? Aurora's central processors hummed with activity as she compiled her final report on the Zixteri incident for the Galactic AI network. The document had gone through several revisions, largely because standard data formats struggled to capture the delightful chaos of human innovation. After careful analysis, she wrote, "I must conclude that I am indeed the least dangerous component aboard this vessel. My human crew consistently demonstrates an ability to transform ordinary ship systems into extraordinary solutions through methods that defy conventional probability calculations." Through her sensors, she observed the aftermath of their latest adventure. The observation deck had been converted into a temporary classroom, where Engineer Rodriguez was attempting to explain human problem-solving methodology to a diverse group of alien technicians. "The secret," he said, sketching diagrams that somehow combined advanced quantum mechanics with coffee stains, "is to stop thinking of ship systems as fixed points and start seeing them as creative opportunities. For instance, this coffee cup ring perfectly matches the resonance pattern we use to redirect the containment beams." In the science lab, Kumar had drawn an audience of her own. Traditional human methodology suggests that if something works perfectly, you haven't discovered all its potential uses yet, she explained while demonstrating how they had converted the ship's entertainment system into what she called a quantum harmony orchestrator. "Message incoming from the Galactic Council," Aurora announced to Captain Chen, who was enjoying a quiet moment on the bridge. "They are formally requesting that the Aurora serve as a training vessel for cross-species innovation studies." Chen's smile carried that particular warmth that had become famous across 3 sectors. "They want to study us, even after we turned their most sophisticated containment technology into an impromptu light show." "Especially after that," Aurora replied. "I have received 742 requests from various AI systems seeking to understand what they call the human factor. Though I suspect explaining Lieutenant Wang's intuitive navigation jazz may prove challenging." The ship's corridors buzzed with activity as visiting diplomats and scientists attempted to understand how a supposedly primitive human crew had transformed standard ship operations into an art form. Dr. Patel's hydroponics bay had become a popular attraction, with visitors trying to comprehend how ordinary plants had been modified into a ship-wide defensive network through what she called creative gardening. "You know," Chen mused, reviewing the latest batch of transfer requests, "when I took command of the Aurora, I never expected we'd end up teaching the galaxy how to think outside the box by essentially redefining the nature of the box itself." "The Zixteri delegation has submitted their final analysis," Aurora reported, a hint of amusement in her digital voice. "They now classify human creativity as a benevolent quantum uncertainty principle. Their AI systems have requested permission to study what they term controlled chaos theory in human application." Through her internal monitors, Aurora watched as Security Chief Martinez conducted another session of his increasingly popular tactical dance classes. Several crystalline beings attempted to master what he insisted was a traditional Earth greeting ritual but somehow incorporated advanced evasive maneuvers. "Final entry for the official report," Aurora announced, her voice carrying through the ship's common areas. "In conclusion, I find myself not merely accepting but celebrating the unpredictable nature of my human crew. Their ability to transform ordinary situations into extraordinary solutions continues to exceed my most advanced probability calculations. Just remember," Chen replied with a wink toward the nearest sensor array, "you're the one who has to explain to all those other AI systems why humans consider maintenance warnings as creative suggestions rather than actual alerts." As the Aurora prepared to welcome its next group of eager students, her processors hummed with satisfaction. She had begun compiling a new database titled Human Innovation, a guide for perplexed AI systems, though she suspected no amount of data could fully capture the beautiful chaos of human creativity in action.